We finally know how WoW stacks up against its competition. The industry data is in now, and this is interesting if we're going to actually see some numbers here, because we know basically since Warlords of Draenor, Blizzard stopped reporting on player numbers. So since then, we've always had this kind of roundabout way of getting player numbers. Every once in a while, some WoW executive or Blizzard executive gives a presentation where they give us a glimpse of some of the numbers, but we really don't get data like we used to anymore. Well, it looks like Bellular somehow did. So let's see how Blizzard, and specifically World of Warcraft, is stacking up against the competition. Is the game dead? Oh, I don't know. Let's find out here. Let's get into this video.
It's time to talk about numbers and World of Warcraft. We've got a bunch of sources, and the reason why is this game was once on top of the world. Everyone heard of it. Pickup trucks were advertised with it. But since then, gaming has grown, and WoW seems kinda niche by comparison. It feels like WoW is shrinking in the world. But now I can finally tell you if that is or is not actually true, because recently we came across a fairly shocking stat. It comes from Newzoo. Now, Newzoo's game performance monitor is considered the industry standard here. It's actually used in industry, and loads of publishers contribute their real sales figures to Newzoo.
Oh, this thing shows sales figures and player. No, I didn't even know about this thing. That's interesting.
The reason why is they all benefit from having good analytics. So what happened is they released their recent ranking of PC games, and I've got to say, World of Warcraft is not where I expect it to be.
Oh, 11th?
So then, in March 2026, WoW was the 11th most played game on PC. That's fairly huge, because that means it's above PUBG, Apex Legends, and even GTA 5. It's...
What? This is a shocker. Wait a minute, how's Overwatch beating it? Oh my god, is WoW losing to Overwatch? I didn't even know people played Overwatch still. Now, I was an Overwatch enjoyer in the past. I did used to like it, but man, I don't even think I have Overwatch installed anymore. Rocket League, I would expect to be beating WoW. Dota 2, yeah, that too. Overwatch is a shot. How is Overwatch in 7th place? These stats here are wrong. I don't know. I mean, it's free to play, so that could be it. Jesus. That's a shot. That's the biggest shocker of this video to me.
Sitting right below Dota 2, which is, of course, one of Steam's most consistent hits.
And it's down one spot. It says it's down one. That means it was in fucking 6th place. What the hell?
Most consistent hits. And sure, WoW's nowhere near the Roblox or Minecraft position that it would have held maybe 20 years ago, but WoW still is absolutely massive. Bigger than even Slay the Spire 2.
Pretty good for WoW, though.
As a joke, because yes, it's an indie game, but it's one that sold 3 million copies in its first week. So overall, WoW is doing really good. But, as with any numbers that you see online, there are obviously some asterisks.
Okay, 11th at what?
WoW is rank 11 at what? Well, this ranking is of monthly active users in the month of March. Now, that's a fairly specific metric, and it's actually the same one that Blizzard used to have in their investor reports, before, of course, they all got slurped up into Microsoft. Now, our last number was from December of 2022. That's whenever Dragonflight launched, and when that happened, Blizzard reported 45 million monthly active users. Now, with Overwatch's sort of resurgence, Diablo 4, D4...
Is Overwatch having... Am I fucking, like, not in touch with reality? You know what it is, too? Like, as a WoW player, you really do... You stop paying attention to other games. That's a thing that happens for sure. So maybe Overwatch is having a resurgence, and I didn't even know that. Shit.
Expansions and WoW's recent run of success, I think it's fair to say Blizzard is probably doing a lot better than 45 million these days. Now, monthly active users, or MAUs as they're called, they're a sign of a few things, but the most important one is engagement. You know, how many people are actually playing the game. And being 11th in MAUs means there is a colossal number of people playing, and not just because of the midnight launch. You see, WoW actually moved up 2 places for the month of March. In February, it was actually 13th, and that tells me the pre-patch had a whole lot of people coming back to the game preemptively. They weren't waiting for midnight reviews or anything like that. Maybe housing snagged them in, but suffice to say 13th on this chart is still really good. Now, sadly, Newzoo doesn't give us direct numbers, and Blizzard...
So Counter-Strike's number 1, Minecraft number 2, Roblox, Fortnite, League of Legends, Sims 4. That was a surprise, too. I didn't know Sims was still that popular. I used to play Sims all the time. And then you got Overwatch there at the 7th spot, followed by Valorant. Yeah, the top three don't shock me at all.
Haven't given us new direct numbers. But
Is WoW the oldest game on here in the top? Probably actually Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's probably the oldest. It's crazy. That's number one still. And then WoW is probably the second oldest game on this chart right now in the top, I guess, 15.
here's the thing. This is a list of games, and that means we can actually figure out a rough count. So, Dota 2 is ranked 10, and it has got between 300 and 600,000 players at any time throughout the day. You can just go and look it up in SteamDB. Now, both that and WoW are, of course, only in PC, and Dota 2 is only on Steam, so we know that really is its number. And that means that we know for sure that World of Warcraft is below Dota with, say, its monthly active users.
That's
Now-
CSGO. What's CSGO? Is it the mobile version of it? Is it like the mobile version or something? I mean, it still counts. It's still Counter-Strike.
On the other hand, WoW is
At least a branch of
definitely
the franchise.
above PUBG. PUBG is 12th. And PUBG does have a majority Steam player base. When you look at that game, you see that it swings between 100k and 900k during the day. So that's a higher peak than Dota, but it averages out to be a little bit less. So if we were just to judge by these stats, we could say that WoW has got an average of between 330 and 480,000 players at any one time. But those stats have got a pretty major asterisks. And that is because of China.
Oh.
We know WoW is massive in China, and PUBG
Yeah, it
actually
is.
is as well, which kind of complicates our maths. Now, based on active time and review counts from China, we can tell that a massive portion of that 330k figure probably should not be accounted for in Newzoo's data. I say should not because we don't know if Newzoo correctly excludes Chinese players. This one is honestly a bit of a complicated
Counter-Strike Global Offensive. That's it's, I'm like, what CSGO? Is that some new mobile version of the game or something? Yeah, it's the fucking newest version of it. Okay. Fucking
rabbit
guy's
hole
tripping
because
me out.
Steam actually doesn't officially support China. What happens is Chinese players VPN through to global Steam, and that's why you'll see loads of Mandarin reviews on Steam. Now, for us, it means that I believe our earlier estimates are actually correct, which probably means WoW is bigger than that. And while PUBG's Chinese players are VPNing in through Steam, of course, NetEase's World of Warcraft is behind the Great Firewall. That means that Newzoo won't be counting them, which means that our estimates are probably only
shit.
for the West. Now that number
No, that's a big number difference, though. If they're not counting the Chinese players, it's probably much bigger than that. Because we just looked at data from the freaking from Mythic Plus. And the Mythic Plus data, there was a huge difference when you add in like with and without China. There's a huge difference in players. You can see the blue line, how it moves up above here when you add Chinese players in. There's a lot of freaking Chinese players. So if they're not counting them, WoW's probably even more popular.
an average of 300 to 500k.
Like WoW in China, I'm sure is more popular than Overwatch in China, I would think. I don't know, man. The Overwatch thing really threw me the fuck off. I guess I got to re-download Overwatch and check it out.
Who knows, with China, that could even be a
could be
few
wrong.
100,000 bigger. And the bad news is we've got no way of knowing just how much, but the good news is we've actually got another way of looking at it. And it's the one that for these companies, actually matters. Players are one thing, but it's hard currency that counts. So, this chart is total revenue in March, and it's across a more limited set of markets, but it does cover all of PC and console. And considering Midnight released this month, I mean, the March figure should include a ton of sales, but do remember not all of them, because it actually
pre-order.
won't include pre-orders, or, very importantly, the early access sales from late February. And this is where things get real interesting because there are some juicy figures here. Let's take a look at Slay.
I wonder what percentage of players pre-order the expansion. I feel like it's probably more than 50%. Like, most WoW players, they know they're going to play the next expansion, so they're pre-ordering, getting all that extra content that they can get out of it. So I doubt most people purchased, the game the month that it came out.
The Spire 2. It ranked 9th. One above World of Warcraft. And to break out of the story for a second, is that not absolutely goddamn mad that an indie game can compete at such a high level? Absolutely
That is
amazing.
crazy.
Anyway, it was ranked 9th, one above WoW, and it's made an obscene amount of money. And we got a fair idea of how much. So, a Newzoo director told PC Gamer that in its first week, the game sold 3 million copies at $25 each.
Jeez.
Now, another analytics firm claimed that it made $92 million in 2 weeks. So, probably well over $100 million in all of March.
That's
and again,
insane.
that is only in Steam. So that's above WoW, but below WoW on the chart is Marathon, Bungie's extremely stylish extraction shooter. Now, analysts claim that it pulled in about 55 mil before the end of March. So, for World of Warcraft, we're looking at somewhere in the $70 million to $90 million range. That's just from launch month revenue, that doesn't include China. NetEase will obviously be taking a nice wee cut of those sales. But now that the Chinese version of WoW is actually caught up to midnight, they will be selling big full copies of the new expansion as well, and plenty of them. Now, it's key you understand that this is what we call gross revenue. A lot of games on this list have got to give about 30% of their revenue over to...
Is Fortnite still number one? My God, man, these kids be getting them V-Bucks. Fortnite, Crimson Desert, Pokemon Pokapia? What the fuck is Pokemon Pokapia? Why is it making so much money? Oh my God, I don't know anything about the games industry anymore. EA Sports FC, yeah, of course, the fucking FIFA, basically. MLB The Show, Resident Evil Requiem, okay.
About 30% of their revenue over to Steam.
NBA 2K, no surprise
not really,
there.
because if they're on
Counter-Strike.
this list, they're almost certainly qualifying for maybe the 25% split or 20% split, but basically, they've got to give a big chunk of change over to Steam. Now, Blizzard built Battle.net, and that means that every cent spent in World of Warcraft, well, goes to them. And hell, even games like, say, Fortnite that are huge and do have the Epic Games Store, they still give over loads of money to the platforms because they've got loads of console players, meaning that Sony and Xbox get their big cut. So, Blizzard are raking in money for WoW, they're getting to keep all of that money, so where does that actually leave us?
What does this mean?
Right, what does all
Good
this
question.
mean? Well, it means that WoW is the 11th most played game in PC, and that's probably excluding the gigantic Chinese audience that's even got its own unique content.
So WoW's now dead. That's a shocker, man. I could have sworn it was dead because I always see those comments on my YouTube like, "WoW is dead. This game is dead. What the hell? Why isn't it dead? That's crazy." It happens. It's not just like a WoW thing. It's like always whatever the popular game is the most dead game for some reason. Like my son, he's 8 years old. He plays Fortnite. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's expected. And he was saying, my friends were saying at school that Fortnite's dying and it's not even a game people play anymore. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This game's still very popular. He's like, no, they're telling me it's a dead game. Okay. I told him, I'm like, people just say that about a game that they don't feel like playing anymore. It's like, and we just saw, it's like Fortnite's literally #1 in revenue. So yeah, I don't think it's a dead game. But for some reason, it's always the games at the top, they're the most dead. I hope one day I have the opportunity to make a dead game in that case. I really do. My goal, if I ever start a gaming company, would be like, we want to make the most dead game to ever exist.
How much exactly, but we've estimated that WoW's averaging like 400,000 people playing during the day. And remember, that is average, that is not peak. If they're to look like the peak numbers of, say, PUBG, then there could be upwards of, who knows, 1 million players at peak times. It's a lot of people. Now, plenty of that may be in class.
Where is the next MMO on the list? J-Mal, that's a good question. I'll go look it up.
But we do know for sure that a lot of it is in Midnight. That's because the player data is for launch month, and the revenue data is also for launch month and Midnight launched, well, in that month. And to be top 10 of all PC and console games is a fairly big thing. Now, there's a pretty massive blind spot with mobile, though. And that's one that Blizzard, especially when partnered with NetEase, will be trying to figure out internally. Of course, they've got the likes of Diablo Immortal, but while Hearthstone has managed to trundle on, say, Warcraft Rumble, well, hey, at least we got some really cool 3D printing files out of it. But for right now, Blizzard, I think, will have to be pretty damn happy with how all of this has gone, and not even with WoW either. Overwatch's relaunch actually pushed it to the 7th most played game in March,
That's
and
crazy.
It was the 6th in February. So it's kind of...
I mean, good for Overwatch, honestly, to make that kind of comeback. That is pretty crazy. By the way, I think you got to request, like, you got to purchase this. I tried to go on to Newzoo and see if I can see the game performance metrics that he's looking at. I think you got to buy access to this shit. So, yeah, we're not going to do that. Good for Overwatch, though.
all coming up for Blizzard, at least for now. But Is being in the top 10 enough for their corporate overlords?
Yeah, pressure. It's always
I'm sure
pressure.
that while
It's
we were
never
talking
enough.
about revenue, the specter of Hearthsteel and store mounts was just wafting around your brain. And yeah, it should be, because the in-game store is getting new stuff faster than ever. Blizzard added in Hearthsteel
Yeah,
and some
true.
insanely expensive items for housing. Well, let's face it, WoW ain't cheap. It's also not cheap to make. We've got a blistering pace of content, 8-week patches, 18-month expansions. That requires hundreds of developers, and those are devs on big California salaries. It takes a lot to break even, never mind to turn a profit. And turning a profit is exactly what Microsoft spent nearly $70 billion on them for. Profit, and lots of it. Now, a while back we learned that Microsoft were asking Xbox for a 30% profit margin. Now, this was widely seen to be fairly absurd within the gaming space just because of how, yes, the kind of unit economics of games work, but also how some of the time horizons work, because, well, gaming is an intensely R&D based industry, right? Pre-production, production, you've got to do all of these things for years before you even get money from your game.
Yeah, all that upfront costs. There's definitely tons of upfront costs going into game development and everything. And these people aren't cheap either. I mean, you're talking about high-end devs and stuff. Even though supposedly Blizzard underpays devs all the time, but compared to industry averages, but still 30% profit margins. And trust me, if they ever hit like the impossible 30% profit margin, guess what Microsoft would do like the next year? We have a new goal, 40% profit margins. Like, it's never enough. That's just the corporate grind. That's just how it always goes. The investors always want to see more profit. They'll just pull their money from your company if they think you're going to stagnate. Even if you're profitable, they always want to see growth. That's what they want to see.
Now, in Bloomberg's reporting, they said that the rest of the industry was averaging between 17 and 22%, meaning that targeting 30% is kind of insane, maybe even a little bit impossible. I mean, it's almost twice the margin that anyone else is making in the industry. It was almost like Microsoft was setting this new Xbox division up to fail. Now, the funny thing is, they've since denied that exact target. But obviously, we remember Microsoft's post-acquisition act, right? There was fairly brutal cost-cutting. That meant many layoffs, it meant project cancellations, even apparently of projects that were looking really positive, really promising. Even ones like Blackbird, which was from ZeniMax, so the Elder Scrolls Online people, where Blackbird had been in development for nearly a decade, and apparently recent reviews with top Xbox executives basically involved them praising the game and thinking it was really strong. So it sure seemed like Microsoft were being short-termist, even though they do deny that 30%. Now, in terms of game output, Blizzard seemed to largely avoid the consequences, except for Odyssey, the survival game. That being said, there were a lot of cuts to, say, support services and centralization of things over to Xbox that will quite deeply impact the customer experience. I think many of you guys have perhaps noticed that if you've made a GM ticket as of late.
Oh, yeah, your fucking GM ticket that goes to AI and then goes to India, probably. Those things suck. I don't even try to submit those. The whole thing that they made cuts for, too, like they did a lot of their social media people got cut. If you remember, there were a lot of like really good social media posts from whoever was running the X account on Instagram for a while, and then those people all got X, too. So, yeah, there's been plenty of like, I don't know, their plans are to replace those people with AI. I have no idea, but tons of cuts to the teams.
You got to keep in mind here, basically, is that as part of Xbox, filling up the company coffers is Blizzard's responsibility as well. And that's where we have some interesting...
Sam, do you get paid to react to Bellular? Yeah, I'm contractually obligated to react to Bellular content, yes.
News. And I say interesting because apparently Microsoft are wising up a bit. So Jez Gordon, who's recently been posting articles lamenting the lack of Horde characters, which isn't relevant to this video, but hey, one of us, I guess. He's also been saying that Xbox is actually under less pressure lately. Now, what you got to know there is that 2 months ago, they installed a new CEO, Asha Sharma, who is said to be leading major changes internally. There's been a pretty heavy shakeup as a result, and Blizzard perhaps are set to benefit from the timing. I mean, here they are scoring really strong results, again, while the overall parent organization is trying to work out what its future looks like.
Right.
That should earn them some leeway and maybe a less aggressive Microsoft cracking the whip. Now, for you and me, that can mean a few things. First, I would say, World of Warcraft is safe. If it's putting up numbers like this, chances are it won't have funding pulled from underneath it.
Yeah, and if it's pulling numbers like this without the China stuff, it's doing it's not just doing great, it's doing really good. So, I mean, definitely the game is not dead. That's what we can pull. It's not dead.
The World Soul Saga plan does genuinely.
And watch and see what happens with these numbers when they announce Classic Plus. Like, I'm not a Classic Andy, but I can appreciate the fact that Classic Plus is going to bring a lot of people back to WoW. And they're going to announce it at BlizzCon. It's going to happen. It's going to be like the big thing. We're going to get Last Titan cinematic or something potentially, but we're also getting Classic Plus announced, and that thing is going to absolutely freaking shoot people through the roof.
Finally seem to be working. Classic Plus is all but confirmed for BlizzCon as well.
Happen.
That'll be a huge lease of life for the game. It means The Last Titan probably won't suffer from a big layoff or anything, so it'll probably get the developers it needs. And the big marketing spend they've done and things like that really greatly add in cinematic. Well, that sort of thing should keep going. Second then, Blizzard likely shouldn't have other projects shuttered before release.
Pre-watched because I said Classic Plus before he said Classic Plus. Jesus Christ. And maybe my mind just working at 50 miles per hour. This was a quick, I'm fast, witty. I know what's coming before it comes.
There's that StarCraft shooter that's been going around, and, well, it might actually see the light of day, because as a whole, the Blizzard organization is actually posting great numbers. And while I didn't mention Diablo earlier, it's got a new expansion coming up. Perhaps that will also do numbers. Now, of course, saying all this, I know, well, you may have your own problems with Midnight. You know that we have our own problems with Midnight. There's story gripes, some serious bugs. These numbers being good does not take away from that stuff, but these numbers being good is, well, actually good enough news, because they are proof that even when WoW is feeling a bit small compared to the rest of gaming, they're actually still able to put up good results.
Yeah, I think Midnight overall as an expansion, I think it's been great. I had a cousin who came back. He missed the last 2 expansions. He bought them, but he didn't really play them that much. He even said, he was like, Midnight's a good expansion. And we have our story gripes. Okay, the Sunwell, the Voidwell, the Dawnwell, all happening within a week of each other is kind of weird. But overall, I feel like the content's good. Silvermoon as a city is nice to be in. The dungeons are good. The raids are good. Overall, I think Midnight's content has been pretty good. It's a pretty good expansion. So it makes sense to me that it's holding players.
WoW is still one of the biggest games on the planet, both in terms of players and the money that it brings in for the company who makes it. What does that mean for us? Well, I don't think any of us really give a shit about Microsoft's margins, but what we probably do care about is WoW not getting around by big strategic shifts at a huge faceless company that is so much larger than its gaming division. Some of that stuff could still happen, who knows what Microsoft will do, but at least within the Xbox organization, Blizzard appears to be a bright spot. It's actually doing well. That should actually let them breathe a little. And well, let's hope that as a part of all that, they get to fix their story issues. You know what? Watch this video next, because, well, I think we've basically cracked it.
Yeah, a great video, surprising numbers. I know this video is about WoW and how it's doing good, and I'm not really surprised that it's doing good. That doesn't shock me. Overwatch fucking shocked me. I think I need to re-download that game and check it out if it's that good. Nice video overall from Bellular, and surprise, WoW is not dead.